I wanted to make sure that I just wanted to make it clear that the video that you're about to see was something that I made early in actual April of last year. I did have to clean up a little bit because there are some views that I wasn't really too sure if I actually still believe in. So therefore, the majority of what I actually put into it are some things that I do think of. I I can't really clean it up because it was something that I made a year ago, but it's something that I think that we need to have a conversation about. Tell me what you think.
Pretty much anything that I bring forth in terms of opinions pretty much will not be HR approved. So if you happen to be at work and happen to be blasting this, you probably don't want to do so. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Resla. It has nothing to do with Elon. Please relax. Anyway, uh, let me tell you a little bit about myself just so we can build a little bit of rapport. In fact, let's get a little bit more closer. Why don't we? So Resla is Resla. Like I said, not a play on Elon whatsoever. I am a 7-year professional in risk management and compliance. And part of the things that I want to go through in this is nope, I will not be really diving into how we can improve business or any crap like that. Leave that to all of your HR professionals. I am strictly giving opinions, my opinions, and opinions of other people, and then we can actually talk about that on various different topics. I will be talking about some things when it comes to business because I realize a lot of people do not understand a lot of things that happen on the inner workings of business, and I have had the opportunity to sit on multiple sides of the table. So I have pretty much a unique perspective when it comes to dealing with work culture, and of course, how it is used for good and how it's been used for bad. And in fact, when I think about it right now, pretty much anything that I bring forth in terms of opinions or my own thoughts, which are the same thing, pretty much will not be HR approved. So that's a disclaimer right there. So if you happen to be at work and happen to be blasting this, you probably don't want to do so. Let's talk about the topic for today. And the topic is going to be knowing when your company's culture is trash. It's garbage. It's bad. It's on the downslope of things. And what should you basically be thinking about? How should you move? What are some ways and actually you should know about it? I'll leave that part to you. And in fact, we probably could talk about that some other time, but for the most part, I would just leave that up to you right now. Let's just talk about one of the reasons why you can actually identify that you may be in one of these companies and if it's going on the downhill or not. So let's get right into it. First one is going to be poor communication. And when I say poor communication, or as I like to say, companies stutter speak, I mean like there is the beehive, which is your entire network, the whole company is the beehive. And from the top of the hive down to the bottom, where you have your worker bees, communication is totally fragmented. They just can't get their ish together. And because of that, your company's slipping. And there are several ways to get about that. First of all, like I mentioned before, poor communication. So, what are two things that I always say that needs to be strong when it comes to communication in an actual organization? It is transparency. A lot of people don't want to get into that, and I get it. I get it. Some companies don't want to get into that, but I really think that goes on the culture that you have based on the individuals that you have working there. Because let's face it, if you're not an earnest individual, if you're not really an empathetic individual, this is not common ground for you, and it can be considered a trap. So, to those who work in business who happen to be deceitful, transparency is not something that they really wish to do. So you have transparency, and the next part is that the part where everything wouldn't be messed up if they just did this. Have proper clarity. Clarity. That's all. Make sure that when you have a message, make sure it is clear. Say it to other people. Have them try to explain to you what you just told them. If they have a problem, explain to you what you just said to them. You need to dumb it down more. You need to make it more clear because you're trying to broadcast this information out to an entire organization. And if it's left up to interpretation or it's left to a point where when everybody's finally on their own, they can challenge each other because no one has a clear cut path as to what exactly was said. Now, we can say that there's particular context or particular nuances depending on the actual function, function, or whether there's something that needs to be done within management versus employee role. But everybody should have the same communication across the board. And unfortunately, this is not something that actually happens a lot of time in a company that's pretty much on the downslope. The next thing would be work gangs. Oh no, we've seen them. Probably not to the far extent that I've seen a lot of work gangs, but uh, there are definitely work gangs, and I'm pretty sure if you are not currently experiencing that, then you have seen it before. Keep in mind, work gangs come in all kinds of people. It can be related to income. It can be related to power structure. Typically is. It can be related to uh, gender. It can be related to beliefs, so religion or just ideologies in general. And I've seen my fair share of pretty much these things. I think that the one that I've seen the least, but I've definitely heard of, is the ideology part. So a prime example would be you have particular people with ideologies of saying that they wish to promote women in the workplace. I'm all well and good for that. Definitely promote women in the workplace. So long as when you are promoting women in the workplace, that you are not being discriminate of that and that they are actually the proper qualified people for their positions. Now, if this means that you wish to make them a proper candidate, if you're a person in a position of power, you wish to make them a proper candidate by offering them an opportunity. So if you wish to take them under your wing to give them an actual opportunity by actually mentoring them, and I wouldn't say just the one particular individual, make it fair across the margin and let the person who is the most curious and most ambitious be the person to actually strive and get there. That's just the way I look at it. I have been in industries where there have been cliques, whether it is women, whether it has been guys, whether it has been a particular race. You may find people of different ethnicities who are dual lingual, and yet you'll find a particular subset of dual linguists or multilinguals who will seem to get together because they think they need to stick to each other. And it's kind of high school, if you ask me, but I don't like it. It happens. So the most common one that I said that I see happens to be power structure, where management pretty much gets together to the point where they hang out with each other, they go out drinking with each other, they run up the company credit card. One complains to the other, even if they happen to be in different departments or different functions, I should say, and it creates a bias between employees or rather coworkers and managers. Because, say, if you have a particular employee that wishes to change job functions, then you may have that manager have a bias because they've been speaking or hanging out with the other manager of that employee's department who's already said some disparaging things about them. I've seen that kind of stuff happen. And I don't think it's good. Or how you may have people in a particular function be ousted or ostracized, really, because there has been a dissent, and a big rumor that's been cast over them. Should not be tolerated. It just shouldn't. But you'd be surprised because you would even find HR under these things, because HR seems to always have the ear of a lot of people. Now, a lot of HRs will tell you the opposite, because I've seen the song and dance when it comes to HR and how they say that people totally misunderstand them. The same way how I say in risk management, people totally misunderstand us. It is what it is. But that's a topic for another day. The next thing I would see is, let's start going in more in the employee field. So burnout, or as I say, battling burnout. And battling, when I say you're dealing with burnout, I like to say that you have become the wounded workplace warrior. WWW, you're the wounded workplace warrior. And really, people don't even understand that burnout happens in several ways. So there are actually multiple. So you have your frenetic burnout, and frenetic burnout is basically you're the person who comes to work. You make sure you work, you do your thing, you're on it, you cross your P's, yeah, cross your P's. You cross your T's, you dot your I's, you make sure it's good. You're diligent, you're a good worker, you put in all your stuff, and you're working hard for your evaluation or because you just need to do your thing. And you could be put in a position where basically, if you have a particular type of leader or management, it just may not go in your favor, even though you're clearly putting in work that everybody can see. The next one would be unchallenged. Yes, there's actually burnout for people who are unchallenged. They're bored going to work. I understand where they're at, but they really annoy me. So they come to work and they have nothing to do. They claim they have nothing to do. Now, it could be because simply they're efficient at their job. They're efficient at their job, so they get rid of the task good and early, and then they have nothing to do. The problem with some of them, because not all of them, but the problem what I see with the majority of those who I see is that they don't seek advancements in their career. They don't seek to get anything else. Now, offer any more money, they're going to take the extra money, but offer them an opportunity to actually be able to advance. Some of these people won't take it. The majority of those who I see will not take it, and there's legitimate good reasons for that. Uh, One good reason is the fact that nowadays, the higher you go up on the totem pole, the more likely you are to get your head cleaved off. So some people are okay with just being at the lower rungs. And again, for some people, that's okay. The issue I have with the people who claim that they want advancement, but they are literally sitting there talking about how they're not challenged, is that they also don't tend to help other people in that department. For the ones that I've seen, I'm speaking anecdotally, and they actually become stressed because they're like, I'd rather just be sitting at home and eating Cheetos or watching my favorite shows or binge watching something. I don't want to go to work because I'm just bored when I'm at work. I come to work and I'm killing time. People can get stressed because they get to work and they don't feel like they're fulfilled. They feel like they're bored. They feel like they're making a paycheck, but they don't want to necessarily move into a different company or anything because the job that they're at probably pays them really well. And they're afraid to go somewhere else where, quite frankly, they will be challenged, where they have to learn and actually do something because not everybody's motivated like that. So it's weird. It's weird. The most I say to those people is that don't complain about work if you really don't want to work. That's the way I look at it. Just do what you have to do so that you don't become a burden to other people who are trying to work. That's the only thing I ask. The last one is the one that we typically hear about, and that is the worn out burnout. So the worn out burnout is uh, the person who's the workhorse. They are the mule. They are the beast of burden. So they probably know everything that's going on when it comes to their particular role and their particular function. They probably deal with coworkers who are like the other two type of coworkers, where they either making sure they do their P's and their Q's, but they're not probably not assisting other people, and then the other one who really doesn't put a lot of their weight at all. And this person is probably being taken advantage of a lot of coworkers in their department, including their management or leadership. These are the people that probably they feel guilty about calling out, or they feel guilty about taking vacation because everything's been saddled on their back, and they're worried about if they took time off, how much work would they have to come back to. It's funny, there was a study, and I think it was the World Health Organization. I think it was them, but I think they did a study. It was like a survey. It was like a survey. I can't remember. It was like 2017 or 2019. It was a while since I saw this poll. So I probably have to do some research and see if I can find that one again or see an update for it. But it was along the lines of saying that there 95% of people feel pressured to overwork. Not that they actually have to, not that anyone actually told them that they need to, but they feel pressured to overwork. Of that 95%, 67 of it, I do believe it was the World Health Organization. I'm kind of remembering it now. 67% of those people are experiencing burnout. Now, I just mentioned that burnout happens on different levels, but 67% are actually experiencing burnout. I mean, like burnout to the point where they are immensely overworked. Like they are having adverse effects when it comes to their health. I can't remember the actual quote. There was a quote that they used. The quote was more along the lines of, what was it? It was something along the lines. I'm going to just paraphrase, but it's like no job is worth you having a heart attack or developing heart disease, something like that. Anyway, and I, for one, agree with that. If you are at a job that basically is not valuing you and valuing your time, valuing your efforts to at least correct the other bad behaviors that are taking place, then you may need to consider going somewhere where you're going to be, more and better appreciated. I don't see what's the problem with that. And no, you should not feel guilty for taking your time. Listen, we literally have 365 days, right? 365 days a year. Then we have uh, 2 days that we need to be off um, for a week for a full time person. So we're talking about 24 days. So 24 days, so you're talking about 341 days. We're not talking about call outs because you're sick. We're not talking about vacation. We're not. So think about it. Of all those days, this is how many days you're expected to actually put in. It's crazy, but you do whatever you can. So I think you should take your mental headspace wherever you can. The next thing would be, oh, so it's here to my burnout. Uh, stifled growth. Stifled growth is another one. You're in your company, and it seems like you can see where the upper levels are, but getting there is slim to slim to none. Especially in some industries you're at where you either have a lot of people that are in that industry, or there's just really not enough position to actually be able to move up. You know, it's either someone has to retire, or they get promoted to something else, or they die for someone else for someone else to be able to move into that current position that they want to be at. So if you're looking to be a supervisor, you can't be a supervisor because your supervisor is looking for the other supervisor to either leave or croak. And yeah, that can be demoralizing. But there's also other things that play to it as well, because let's talk about the employees that get hired. Say you're a person you've been in your field for a while, you've been within your company, you've been there for about, I don't know, 4 years, and you're looking at a step up in the ladder, and you will get constantly overlooked, even though you probably as a person who actually knows your job and knows it pretty well, right? But instead, you'll get new talent who will walk into there, and you have to turn around and you're the one that's teaching them. Worse, especially if they're the kind of person that they are the person that don't want to really listen to anyone, feel like they know everything. And you'd be surprised some of the stories that I get about these people, because sometimes you will have a person that gets brought into an industry and they don't know anything. In fact, they have very little experience. So it makes you beg the question, so how did you get here? Like why are you here in the first place? You take that as it is. There's nothing worse than you consistently see new talent walk in who are grossly overpaid, who may have less experience, and you being in a more experienced person has to be the one to train them, especially if you're training them to be someone in your function who has to tell you what to do later. I understand how insulting it can be, unless you're the kind of person that you don't want to move up. That's fine. The other thing is that let's talk about poor management and leadership that come into the building, that come into your facility. It's one thing if they come in and they have good ideas and such, but what if you were the kind of person that you were trying to apply for the job, and say you were told that you couldn't get it because you either don't have enough experience, or you don't have enough outside experience, which is crazy because if a company tells you that you don't have enough outside experience, then why wasn't there ever an opportunity to develop those within the business? It's kind of weird too, because if you're told that you don't have enough outside experience, because I heard this from someone, if you don't have enough outside experience, then why aren't they going out of their way to make sure that you get the skills to be developed from the outside so that you can be an asset? So this is something that a lot of companies used to do. They used to actually invest in their employment. If especially there was a time where if they saw someone who was a hard worker, they would actually go to them and actually offer them an opportunity. And that's not really it anymore. If you're not curious enough to go chasing somebody else, and here's the thing, you have to know that there's an opportunity available for you to chase after it. It's weird how the way company structures work, and I'm pretty sure there's some companies that still follow the same logic, but it's far few in between that I see nowadays that are willing to do so. You may get a pep talk once in a while from your direct management, but it's very rare these days that you will actually get someone who's genuinely going to see that you're a hard worker and will offer you some insight. It's just not the thing. So you get these managers that come in and they make sometimes even an egregious amount of compensation, and they don't stick around long enough because let's face it, the considerable lifespan of someone these days into a company, it's 3 to 5 years. It the days of you sitting around for a company for an extended period of time, 10 years, 30 something years, it's pretty much out the window now. It's not as valuable as it used to be. Loyalty should be something that's valuable. I remember that you should always be looking at to have a long standing career within a company. And you didn't want to see too many jobs on a resume because it showed that you weren't really loyal and you kept hopping. In the gig economy that we have now, it's just the opposite, where jumping around every 3 to 5 years from company to company is something that's considered acceptable. And you're looked at weird if you have been in a particular company for an extended period of time. Turnover is really it's a pain in the ass. It is. It costs a lot for a company, especially when you have particular individuals or particular function that's hard to fill in. And individuals don't even stay within the role for a year. They don't stay long enough to get an evaluation. you know, it's just a waste of time. It's a waste of compensation for the time that you had in there. It's waste of training. It's waste of paying for paying for insurance. It's a waste. It is. It really is. Next thing we could talk about is unmotivated coworkers. Unmotivated coworkers, and I talked about unchallenged coworkers, but they're not the same thing. But unmotivated coworkers, these are the mofos that try to skip out on work. They try to skip out on doing anything serious. And they got excuses up the wazoo. They do just enough not to get fired or not to get noticed. And then when they do get noticed, they always claim that there's something that they didn't know. They could be within a company for several years. And when you question them on something that's literally within their job function that they've been doing for years, they will state that they never knew what it was. Because you have all these people that do not stay in a particular position for a given amount of time, you get a high turnover rate. And like I said, it costs the company a lot of money. I mean, think about it. The turnover is so vast, it happens so often. You can't keep a person long enough for them to even see a promotion, to even see really monetary value within that position that they actually have. It's wild. But such is the things that actually take place. But yet you don't want to entrust that same position in power or even train or develop the current individuals who have shown to be people who are committed to the actual business to actually propel them and place them in a position of power where they would only be more obligated, more in debt to the actual culture of that business. These are the people who actually know the culture of your business, but yet they are not viewed as valuable candidates. So next one, when we're talking about poor work culture, we start talking about people who talk about work life balance, and this is the problem with the employee. If you ask me, first of all, the moment you hear people want free time or they want vacation or whatever the case may be, they talk about work life balance. Stop it. There's no such thing as work life balance. That is one of the largest scams that were ever put out. There's Work life balance is a scam. Easy way to always break this up is always this: when you commute, when you get up in the morning and you have to get ready for work, keep in mind you're burning time to prepare to go to work. Then you have to commute to work. We're not talking about the people that work from home. We're not talking about remote people. So you commute to work. That's unpaid. You get to work, whether you punch in, swipe in, whatever, fingerprint in, whatever the case may be. However you clock it, you do. Some people 4 if they do that light work. Some people do 6 hours. Some people are more flexible. Some people do 8 hours. Some people do 9 hours. Some people are doing 12 hours. Some people are doing 16 hours in a day. 16, bless them. When you clock out for the day, when you leave your shift, when you are leaving work and you're commuting back home, was there any point in time that you were able to receive those hours back? Was there any point in time that you were able to recoup any of those multiple hours that you spent at your job, at your place of employment? No, no. Then again, there's no such thing. And I'll go further and elaborate. Plenty of people, as much as we say, leave your problems at the door, they bring their problems to work. Case in point, people who turn on and say they need a break or they need to take a phone call because their child school called. That's personal. That's not work related. Or they have to make sure that they have a confirmed doctor's appointment. That's personal life. That's nothing to do with work. What are we doing here? Like really, what are we doing? Those are personal things. Those are not work related. And because of that, people who have domestic issues, they come to work and they sit and they argue with their significant other or loved one, whoever on the phone. Why is that taking place at work? Yes, this happens. And vice versa. There are people that they leave work. It's not like you when you step out the door, oh, amnesia, I don't know anything about this place. Just gonna wait till tomorrow. It's not the way it works. People bring their work issues home. I want to complain about Keisha. I want to complain about Max. I want to complain about Stefan, whoever. They bring it home. They speak to their spouse about it. They drink and they complain to their friends about the people that they work with, or the work that they have and how shitty it was. They do that. So that means you're bringing work with you. And then there's those who actually bring their work home to actually work at home for their place of employment. This is another thing that is really bad and can be really considered I'm going to say it, toxic work culture because you know the famous words now are toxic. It's toxic, trigger. So this could be considered a toxic environment. And while we're speaking on uh, toxic environments, when we talk about, because I'm thinking about the clicks. Another click that we got to talk about are the clicks of everybody wanting inclusion, whether we talk about racial, whether we talk about gender disparity or anything like that. I'm gonna say this because we want to we not we companies want to bring a culture where they feel like everybody's included and everybody voices will be heard, and I'm all for that. I'm all for that. I believe that along with our amendments that we have here, and of course, I believe that you have a right to freedom of speech. I do. I believe you have a right to freedom of speech. I think that you should be able to um, converse with other people. I think you should be able to have civil dialogue. I believe that you should be able to feel how you feel and be able to express that. Here's where the issue comes up. You're entitled to your feelings. You're not entitled to your own facts. You're not entitled to subjugate other people to your facts, which are really just on feelings. You subjugate other people to your feelings, I should say. That's not a thing. For particular people, whether it is a race, whether it is religion, whether we are speaking about gender, your place of employment is not the place for that. This has become a big thing in the world. It's a really hot topic in the world of late. I can tell you right now, no one cares about what you wish to call yourself. No one cares about where you are on your sexual spectrum or political affiliation. People work at companies because they wish to provide a skill in a place that they'll be valued, so that therefore they can get a compensation so that they can be able to take care of their loved ones, their friends, their loved ones, financial obligations. They work at a particular company in order to survive and thrive. They're not there for your particular affiliations. That's not the reason why they go to work. It's not. You can go or protest with go to your councilman, city hall. You can do all that. anyone that's trying to make a workplace of any kind unhospitable, Jesus Christ, I can't say anything anymore, to anyone else that's working there is literally a fringe element within that company. I'm gonna just say that you're a fringe element within that company. You're trying to really sow more seeds of discontent than anything else. Whether you're having a problem with people because you think that only particular religion should be there, or that you think that everybody else should just conform to you and your needs, when everybody there is all different, which is the whole point of diversity. But to think that you can force people's hand to be a particular way or force people's speech when they've had who knows how many years of being on this planet, of having a particular speech, which of course we just talked about the First Amendment. So long as they're not doing anything to quote unquote offend, if they're not trying to offend, is one thing. If they're purposefully offending, then we can have a conversation. But the idea of also curtailing someone's speech is also a problem, because we also have the right to follow our own beliefs. It is unconstitutional to turn around and subjugate someone else, to bind someone else to someone else's beliefs, to bind someone else's speech to their speech. As much as I have a hard time following the verbiage, following the accents of a lot of people that come from the South, and especially when they get that not that Southern twang, but that slang, I will not sit there. I will sit there and try to listen to make sure that I can pick up everything that's being said. And if I have a question, I need to ask a question because I don't understand what the particular thing that you just said was. What I don't try to tell people is that, man, you need to speak like me. You need to use the words that I am using. No, I need to understand. Because the first part of everything is to understand. You listen to understand. That's it. You listen to understand and then you move accordingly. But the same way how people need to understand you, you need to also take the time to understand them. It's not a one way thing. It's not they need to understand you and that's the end of it. You need to also understand them. And if you say, well, I do understand them, but it's already wrong. If you have to use the word but, you're already in the wrong. Use the word and. You're talking about being inclusive. Use the word and. So I'm going to move on from that because I've seen that pop up in several different industries, and I only see many people in many different departments and many factions walk on eggshells. And because many different people have to walk on eggshells, that's something that also creates a very poor work culture. The company set out to be a particular way to be able to help, to be able to be more friendly and more inclusive. And instead, it was literally throwing a grenade because there are no particular ways to actually include everything for everybody. The same way how we cannot have a culture that's going to be able to be beneficial to everybody. Someone's going to take an issue with it. Even the people that claim that say that they love the job that they worked at leave because either money or so it happens. It happens. There's no perfect system, and I think the system that creates benefits for others and excludes others is not a great system at all. To me, either have it structured and say these are the rules that we have here. It doesn't matter who you are, and we're not going to move from that, or make it the Wild West. Either way, if you whether you're being too rigid or whether you're being too lax, trying to find that medium to balance out to everybody else, it's a pendulum, and you're going to hurt somebody along the way, whoever it is, wherever it's here, wherever it's there, someone's getting hurt. The last thing I will say is you need to save yourself. If you notice that the majority, even three of the things that I just mentioned are a particular thing. Oh, because I forgot to mention this. This is also another thing that you'll know that you have a poor work culture that's happening at your company. Gossip, gossiping. That's disgusting. More people have lost their means of income due to rumors than actual facts. I've seen, listen, accusations are a mother. They are. You are harmed more by an accusation these days than you are what the actual event that took place. Sad, but true. And we need to do more in business and also as individuals to do more critical thinking, to have more critical thought than just being critical of people. So I'll go back to saying you need to save yourself. Save yourself if you have a gut feeling, whether it's your intuition, if you are going to sleep at night or during the day, whichever you want, but if you are going to sleep and you are having bad dreams, you are having nightmares about being at work, you need to go. You need to go. You need to move to another environment, go to another company. You need to leave. And I get it that the money may be great. Like, as crazy as it sounds, I would rather work two part-time jobs that I could say that I could deal with. I I I would say that at least I found some comfort in and work two jobs to make the income up that I make from one job that is completely toxic. One job that will make me burn out and make me feel as if I'm going to have a heart attack. One job that would make me think that I hate this place because I don't like to hate anything. I don't hate anything. I have a strong dislike for particular things, but I never write an entire thing off because of something in particular. I'll say that particular thing I don't like. I would I have literally said I do not want to be at work. I've said it. I have not said that I hate my job. I haven't done that once I've had some understanding, and that's been years ago. Years ago. The last time I said I hate my job was probably in my early 20s. And it had to be a job that I really disliked and I left. I don't run around saying what I don't hate. I mean, saying what I hate because I don't hate it. If I have something that's strong dislike, I let it be known or I just keep it to myself or I move accordingly. That's all. All right. Sorry about the long talk about it. I did want to just cover this topic. I will be coming up with different things. Do me a favor. I should have said this at the beginning, but I'll say it now. If you managed to actually like what I was sitting there and talking about, uh, do me a favor and give this a like. On top of that, if you have anything that you should say for yourself, maybe you have other topics, things that you think I should maybe cover, leave that down in the comment section. And if anything, subscribe to the channel for future stuff that I will be dropping so you can get that notification. Once again, this is Resla. You take care of yourselves out there because it's really rough times. And we got rough times. It's even getting worse. So, till next time.